All right, so this is a ground beef scramble that I'm gonna make with all the vegetables that I steamed and or roasted the other day. So it's a really simple meal that takes about maybe 15, 20 minutes to make in total, and you're using all the foods that you had cooked the day before or the days before. So here's what we're gonna do. I've got ground beef in here, and here's a trick to some ground beef when you're browning it as well. You don't want to stir it all the time, because when you stir it all the time, it more boils it and steams it. So you want to leave it on there for a little bit and let it brown, and it'll get a nice coat on it. But what I've done is I'm just going to brown this beef, and I'm going to season it up with salt. I'm using salt, smoked black pepper, cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, and smoked paprika. That makes a really good flavor profile for ground beef. If you don't have that right now, don't worry about it. But if you want to try it when you go to the store this week, I would highly recommend you do it. It gives it a really good depth of flavor. And obviously, you can season things to your liking, whatever you want, whatever you don't want. I know some people don't like cumin, so you don't have to use cumin. But I do this as we're browning the beef. If I can get the cracked black pepper open, that's always a challenge. And you do this as one of the sides is still pink when you first put it in, and just let it sit there. Because when you do that, it will infuse into the meat a little bit more. And I don't measure really anything at all. I just do it because I know how much I like. And what I would tell you with this, I don't really encourage you to measure out your spices. Just start with a little bit and then add as you go. Because you can always add more, you can't take away. That's the rule in cooking, all right? You can always add, you can't take away, remember that. So our onion powder, garlic powder, cayenne pepper for just a little kick, and then ground cumin. And I love cumin, so I'll put more of that in another. So, but again, make sure you start with a little bit of spices. You can always add this stuff when you're done as well. So I've got all the spices in, and now I'll turn it. Give it a quick little dice up there to get them to break up some of the chunks. And then we'll just let this sit for a little while. So what's going to happen is once the meat starts to brown, but it's still pink in the middle, then I'm going to add my vegetables that I had previously either steamed or roasted. They've been sitting out. So these are, like, this is the broccoli that I have. And it's been sitting out of the refrigerator to get a little bit more room temp for about 10 minutes while I'm doing this. So when I add it in, it's just going to scramble up real nice, and I'm going to put it in a baked potato. But this is what this looks like. So we're just going to let this go for a while. All right, so the ground beef is almost done, and I'm adding in broccoli that I steamed yesterday. And yeah, I'm a savage. I like to use my hands. I'm adding in asparagus that I steamed yesterday as well. And then what I'll do from there is I'm going to add some cherry tomatoes. So I slice these up. And you don't have to add cherry tomatoes. You can use any vegetables you want. But again, this is something that's very simple to make. And then I'll have plenty for several days of this. So just slicing up the cherry tomatoes. This helps them cook faster, just right in half. So we don't have to worry about seasoning any of this because I already seasoned most of it earlier. And use as many as you want. So I'll let that cook for a little bit. And just a reminder, all I'm really trying to do with the vegetables now is let them warm up, because they've already been cooked. So I'm just heating them up, reheating them. So think about it like reheating your vegetables, but not in the microwave, not on the stove, in here. The last thing I'm going to do is add some spinach. When you add spinach, a lot turns into a little bit, especially when you steam it or saute it. In this case, we'd be sauteing it. So I'm putting a pretty ample amount of spinach in with this spread, all right? And here's another fun fact for you, another tip. Anytime you're eating meat, whether that's chicken, but especially when you eat meat, red meat, you always want to have something green with it. So you want to have spinach, you want to have broccoli, asparagus, green beans, something like that, because that balances out the acidity that's in the meat. Even if you're eating more grass-fed, grass-finished meats, it's still a bit more acidic than it is basic. And when we are highly acidic, we're more inflammatory. And also in a high acidity environment in your body, that can lend to more immunosuppressive type issues as well. So you always want to have something green with your meats. So what we'll do is just let this spinach steam down. It goes nice and bright green. And then what I'm going to do with it, and you can do a couple different things. I made sweet potatoes yesterday. I made a whole bunch of sweet potatoes. So what I've done is I have a sweet potato that's in the oven that's just heating back up. So what I'll do is crack that sweet potato in half and I'll stuff it with this mixture. Or what you can also do is you can cook some quinoa, you can cook some wild rice, you can cook some black rice, or another whole grain like that, and you can put this on top of that, and that is your carb for the meal, right? So someone asked a really good question in the last video, because I mentioned we want to avoid white rice right now. And look, I'll tell you this, if you want to have white rice, that's fine. However, it doesn't have the nutrition profile that all the other grains have. It doesn't have the nutrient density that quinoa has, that black rice has, that wild rice has. You want something with more fiber in it, something with more nutrients right now, especially as we're going through all this stuff where quantities are limited. You want to get the highest yield and the most bang for your buck out of the foods that you eat. When you eat white rice, you don't really get that because it's been stripped of that bran, the fiber on the outside of it, and it's more of a starchy carbohydrate. So typically when you eat white rice, you have an insulin or sugar or energy spike and then a crash. Now, I will tell you that if I eat white rice with this meal that has protein and fat and fiber in it, it is going to slow down the absorption of that white rice and give me more stable blood sugar. However, right now, especially when quantities of foods are limited, we want to, again, get the biggest and longest yield for what we're getting. So that's why I'm saying try to avoid the white rices for right now, the white breads, and go with more, again, the quinoas, the black rice, the wild rice, things of that nature, right? So come check this out. So it's all done. So all I do now is serve that up, and this is enough for several meals, right? So serve this up. I'm gonna put it on a sweet potato. You can put it on a sweet potato. You can put it on some rice or grains or something like that, and you're good to go, right? So that is your ground beef scramble. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, leave your comments, leave your questions in the comment section below, and I hope you enjoy it.